Big things that are happening in Ladakh, and we've established that with satellite images showing you visually, not just by conjecture, but visually, China's relentless force build-up on its side of the line of actual control. But that's only part of the story, because the other part is India has also relentlessly been building up forces there with a clear message to China. You can play mind games, you can escalate the situation, you can flex as much muscle as you want, but the facts speak for themselves. India will not allow any misadventures by China. Here's the proof. India Today's Manjeet Negi reports. India Today was the first to literally show you the tensions in Ladakh. Images that have now become the face of the military standoff. But despite multiple rounds of talks spread over 22 days, the Chinese aren't backing off. And the situation hasn't been diffused. Let's first take you through the latest from the ground. At least 5,000 Chinese troops have been diverted from a military exercise to amass close to the line of actual control. While they haven't crossed the border, they remain nearby, and with conflicting perceptions of the border, things are very tense. But as we reported to you first, the Indian Army is matching the Chinese troop for troop across the four major standoff areas in the Galwan River Valley, as well as the northern banks of the Pangong Lake. Indian forces are now also being ferried by aircraft and helicopter to the front via the world's highest airstrip at Daulat Beg Oldi. The troops are being positioned across the standoff zones in eastern Ladakh, as well as to fully deter any Chinese advance towards the northern sectors of Ladakh. The situation has escalated steeply since the 5th of May, when troops on both sides engaged in a violent brawl on the banks of the Pangong Lake. A brawl similar but smaller in size than the infamous 2017 brawl that made viral worldwide headlines. India Today has now learnt disturbing new facts about this latest fight on the 5th of May. Chinese army troops are understood to have used barbed wire wrapped clubs and stones to attack the Indian army forces. Indian troops retaliated despite larger Chinese troop numbers. It was the ugliness of this attack that was followed by such a sharp escalation.
This ingress by Chinese troops is to overlook or to threaten the line of communication, which is the road Darbuk, Shiok or DBO. DBO, as we are aware, is the latest airfield that India had operationalized about over 2 years back.
We have made it categorically clear that under no circumstances will we stop work on the infrastructure, nor would India compromise on its sovereignty and integrity under any circumstance. Chinese are trying to put huge pressure on India for several reasons. A, they do not want India to join hands with the Western world in condemning China as far as the origin of virus is concerned.
India's last standoff with China in Doklam lasted 76 days. The Ladakh standoff is 22 days in and counting. With Manjeet Negi in Delhi, Bureau Report, India Today. And we've got breaking news coming in now. India has vowed not to back down in view of the Chinese aggression and escalatory stance in Ladakh. This is official. Defense Minister Rajnath Singh has just completed a meeting with the 3 service chiefs, the Army, Navy and Air Force Chief, as well as Chief of Defense Staff General Bipin Rawat, to review the current situation in Ladakh. Among other things that were up for discussion, Ladakh did come up, we can confirm, at this particular meeting. The discussions carried on for over an hour, during which the Defense Minister was briefed about the Indian response. Sources say it was decided in the meeting that road construction, which is the trigger for China getting riled up and escalating, will continue non-stop. Indian fortifications and troop deployment will continue to match China, and no amount of muscle flexing and escalation by China will stop India from continuing to build its border roads. It was also decided that while a resolution to the current situation will come through talks, and diplomatic intervention, the Indian military must continue to hold on to its ground and hold on to its claims. That's the biggest news that we're breaking to you right now. India Today's defense editor Abhishek Bhalla getting us that insight from the security establishment. Abhishek, very important message there. Rajnath Singh, the defense minister, has been briefed. And two important messages, Abhishek. One, that infrastructure development will continue non-stop. And two, the military will do everything it can, build up forces if necessary, to ensure that things go smoothly and the Chinese don't come inside.
Well, that's right, Shiv, and this is extremely important messaging as far as the security establishment is concerned. It sends a strong message across that any kind of intimidation by China is not going to work, and the message is loud and clear to those troops on the ground that they have to match the strength of the Chinese, be it in terms of mobilization or be it in terms of troop deployment. There has been a massive troop build-up by the Chinese, also infrastructure build-up on their side, and it has been decided that India will continue with its infrastructure projects, road constructions that sparked this face-off in Ladakh earlier this month.
Abhishek, stay with me. Well, I also want to tell you that while we bring you the latest information on the Ladakh standoff, as well as these photographs and satellite images that nobody else has, India Today has gone a step further, ladies and gentlemen, and I'm happy to tell you we are the first television crew on the China border during this standoff, about 30 kilometers away from the standoff point, because the media is not allowed anywhere close to the military site. So observing all sensitivity protocol and abiding by the rules that the military has put in place in that area, India Today is the only channel which is present on the ground very close to the flash-off point. India Today's Ashraf Wani is right now camping near the China border and approximately 25 kilometers from the actual flashpoint on Pangong So. Here's his report.
During last few weeks, Chinese Army PLA is aggressively building its manpower as well as machinery on the line of control. Even they have entered into Indian territory some 4 kilometers deep near Pangong Lake. Area has been sealed off for the movement, particularly for the media, as India is equally responding to the Chinese aggression here on the line of control. The deployment of Indian Army has been also built up, and what we are getting from the sources and seeing with the eyes, that the movement of Indian Army is also aggressively on. What is the difference between the earlier conflicts with China on line of actual control here in Ladakh and this conflict is that during the last incursions, the Chinese army was being sent back with the negotiations from the Indian territory, but this time not only the number of troops which are building on the line of actual control from Chinese side are more, but also they are making some permanent structures on the line of control and are also objecting on the activities of the Indian army near line of control. There are efforts on between the two countries to sort out the issues with the mutual understanding, with the negotiations, but the Indian Army sources have also made it clear that this time they are going to respond to each and every aggression of Chinese PLA here on LAC in Ladakh. Ashraf Wani with Rauf Ahmed in Ladakh.
And Gaurav Sawant, who has reported extensively along with me from Pangong So and other parts of eastern Ladakh, is also with me live. Gaurav, the road construction is going to continue. Very explicit message from the government to the Border Roads Organization and the military, but the thrust will be on solving the crisis through diplomatic means. The escalation has happened. Where do things go from here, Gaurav?
Shiv, for every commander, it's very essential to know what's happening on the other side of the hill, and our eyes in the sky have given the security forces a fair amount of clarity on what the Dragon is up to at those heights. So at these altitudes, troops need acclimatization, and a large number of acclimatized troops of the Indian Army are already deployed there. We are told that the Chinese, they were carrying out an exercise, and a large number of those troops, perhaps 5,000 plus by some accounts, they've been diverted from that exercise to one area. There are others who've been diverted to another area, but India is watching this, and there is corresponding deployment. So our troops acclimatized, are already there. It's a defensive posture to send a message across to the dragon. If you've got numbers, we've got numbers. You are prepared, so are we.
Yes.
What's the next step? Well, there is a dialogue happening, there is a conversation happening. And remember, Shiv, India's studied the pattern of Chinese activities. We've gone through Depsang and Chumar and Doklam and Pengong. So from 2010 to 2020, there's been a decade of understanding the dragon and the transgressions along the line of actual control, and corresponding countermeasures are effectively in place, not just in the Himalayas, but also elsewhere, and not just limited to one sector of Ladakh, but also elsewhere. All along the line of actual control, at the vital points, there is a strengthening of troops that's taking place. All of this is just to send across a message that dialogue is the best way forward, and a dialogue that takes place from a position of strength.
Well, while the troop buildup has been taking place, instigated by the Chinese side and matched troop for troop by the Indian side, China's mind games and psychological warfare, of course, has to continue. This is China after all. On Monday, a new drone chopper, an unmanned pilotless chopper, was unveiled by the Chinese government through its state media. The interesting thing is, China specifically said that this helicopter drone will be deployed on the India-China border. Why did they have to mention that, especially at these very tense times? Here's the full story. A helicopter without a pilot. This is the AR-500C, a new Chinese drone chopper. Airborne recently, this heli drone is China's latest mind game against India. On Monday, even as tensions simmered between Indian and Chinese troops in Ladakh, this is the provocative headline China put out through state-run media, specifically mentioning that this new heli drone would be used for missions along the India border. Now, this isn't just an innocent news story, but a focused piece of psychological warfare as part of China's larger propaganda machinery, especially when you consider what this helicopter is stated to be for. While specifically mentioning India in the headline, China goes on to describe the heli drone's missions as reconnaissance and communications relay, electronic disruption, target indication, and fire strike, all highly provocative in the current scenario. But China's power play is also a good time to look at India's own heli drone capabilities, or lack thereof. After 14 years of attempts to purchase heli drones from abroad and convert manned helicopters into drones, India's HAL is now close to beginning tests of its own 200-kilogram unmanned helicopter called the RUAV. As you can see in this concept animation commissioned by HAL, the mini helicopter is envisioned for ground troops at the border, including for targeting and reconnaissance. While a debate exists over whether heli drones are useful in tense border areas, there is no doubt about their flexibility and ability to conduct low-altitude operations in pinpoint areas. So while China looks to play mind games with new military tech, India has no reason to be spooked on that front. Bureau Report, India Today. And we've got some breaking news coming in. After Defence Minister Rajnath Singh had a briefing with the three service chiefs and the Chief of Defence Staff, now a high-level meeting is said to be on at the Prime Minister's office level, specifically on the issue of the line of actual control standoff between Indian and Chinese troops, with the Chinese defense minister, with the Indian defense minister and three service chiefs part of that meeting at the Prime Minister's office. So big high-level meeting, the highest one so far, being conducted right now at the Prime Minister's office. We're not clear if okay, we've got National Affairs Editor Rahul Srivastava for more on the story. Rahul, PMO level meeting on the Ladakh standoff. Take us through who all are in this meeting. Is the Prime Minister also there, or the National Security Advisor? Take us through what's happening.
Sure, following the kind of situation which is building up as far as the LAC vis-a-vis China is concerned, on a gamut of issues, the Raksha Mantri, that is the Defence Minister Rajnath Singh, the National Security Advisor, Ajit Doval, CDS, General Rawat, the three service chiefs, and several other security infrastructure officials are said to be part of this meeting. This meeting has been going on for some time. Shiv, the situation as far as India is concerned, if we notice the policy vis-a-vis with China or Pakistan since 2014 has gone through a bit of a change. In terms of a tepid response, we see that the government's response has been, if not called confrontational, but aggressive in terms of posturing. And that is why the government here will not like to send out any signal that India at this moment is flinching when it comes to defending or asserting its rights vis-a-vis the line of actual control. And senior officials confirming this news that the meeting is on are saying that it is more of a review meeting and how India will be proceeding. A lot of inputs are coming in, and this meeting will be taking stock of those issues and then will be strategizing for future.
A high-level meeting on right now at the Prime Minister's office. National Security Advisor Ajit Doval said to be part of that meeting. Chief of Defence Staff Rajnath Singh, the Defence Minister, the three service chiefs and others are all part of this meeting. The intelligence chiefs are also understood to be part of this meeting. Abhishek Balla, Defence Editor, is still with us. Abhishek, can you throw some light on this particular meeting? We understand that this is the highest level meeting that has happened so far on the Ladakh standoff.
Well, Shiv, earlier in the day, as we reported, that there was a meeting chaired by the Defence Minister along with the three service chiefs and CDS, and now our colleague Rahul Srivastava has just broken the story that another meeting is going on that is being chaired by the Prime Minister himself. What I can tell you is that there have been a series of deliberations on what is happening in at the line of actual control, specifically in Ladakh. But what sources say is that, this is a rare situation between India and China relations, because it's not just one area where this is happening, it's multiple areas in Ladakh, and also perhaps for the first time all three sectors, be it the western sector in Ladakh, be it the middle sector in Uttarakhand and Himachal Pradesh, or the eastern sector which comprises Arunachal and Sikkim, has seen some developments. There has been action in all these three sectors. So that's a rare situation, and that's the reason why the security establishment is watching the developments very, very carefully, and they want to be up to date with each and every action that has been taken by the Chinese across the line of actual control.
Abhishek, thank you very much for that. So we're going to try and get more inputs on this big high-level meeting. It's the first high-level meeting of this kind that has taken place at the Prime Minister's office level. Remember, it's 22 days since the Ladakh standoff began, and the images you're seeing on your screen are going to be very much part of discussions. All of this will be up for review and a briefing. National Security Advisor Ajit Doval also said to be part of that meeting to take stock. He is, of course, personally monitoring every single development as far as the Ladakh standoff is concerned. We've got some more breaking news coming in. Okay, a brand new satellite image depicting one view of the Ladakh standoff has just been released by the Australian security analyst who revealed the first satellite images a few days ago of the Ladakh standoff. These were the first visual images. Now, responding to reports that 8,000 to 10,000 Chinese forces are now sitting on Indian soil, Nathan Ruser, who is a famous and very prestigious satellite imagery expert with the Australian Strategic Policy Institute, has just put out this image where he says no Chinese forces are on Indian soil or across the line of actual control, while one unit is on the border, as you can see right on the line there. The remaining are behind, so there is no question of 10,000 or any such large number of Chinese forces on Indian soil. He says they are all behind the Chinese line, the line of actual control. So this image has just been put out by Nathan Ruser. I want to play out a comment from Nathan, who has spoken only to India Today and nobody else. Here's what he told me a couple of days ago on that first batch of images that he put out, setting the stage for the first visual cues of the Ladakh standoff. Here's what Nathan Ruser told me. Take us through what you have found, Nathan, in your images. We've seen many things. We've seen camps. We've seen trucks. Take us through what you've seen in these images.
Hey, yes, thanks for having me. It's good to be here. Basically, on Friday, there was satellite imagery taken of the Galwan Valley area and of the hot springs area in the Ladakh line of control.
Yes.
So basically what we've looked at is the position of forces along that line and the build-up of forces. So in recent months, along the Chinese side in the Galwan Valley, there's been 3, perhaps 4 encampments set up, including one which is probably exactly on the line of control. It's about 500 meters away from the nearest Indian encampment. And it basically, it's a small camp of maybe a platoon of not more than 10 or 12 tents. Mm-hmm. But essentially, it's sitting almost exactly on the line of actual control between Chinese forces and Indian forces in the Galwan Valley.
Speaking once again about these images, because they're very evocative, especially the images showing the trucks, the camps, some of those heavy machinery, pictures as well, Nathan. How serious, would you assess this situation to be based on where the claim lines and, like you said, the line of actual control are?
It kind of seems as though China's trying to not necessarily be aggressive towards the Indian forces, but more trying to show that they can be by sort of pulsing forces right towards the line of control and letting India know that attempts to change the status quo in the region aren't necessarily going to just be accepted lying down by the Chinese forces.
Some of those tents look like they're durable tents, not just temporary tents, Nathan. And again, about the trucks and the heavy equipment suggest, would you agree that it appears to suggest that the Chinese aren't planning to pull back anytime soon? Does this look like this is going to go on for a while?
There doesn't look to be any there doesn't look to be any sort of solid structures in the encampments. And I guess if China put up the tents within a week, they can take them down within a week. But it does look like they're sort of preparing to stay for a decent amount of time. There's no immediate signs that they're pulling back. And actually, if you look further south to the hot springs area along the line of actual control, it seems as though Indian forces are building up and constructing actual permanent positions within a couple of kilometers of the line of actual control.
Hi everyone, Preeti Chaudhary here. Hope you like this video. For latest news and analysis, like and subscribe to the India Today YouTube channel. And don't forget to press the bell icon to stay updated. Thank you for watching.